Good evening, greetings and namaste from India. Ladies and gentlemen, India, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, accords high priority to the ocean resources. And therefore, biodiversity occurring in areas beyond national jurisdiction remains a vital resource from the global seas, with more than 60% of it still to be managed and regulated with a legal framework aimed at conservation. Biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction is also critical for the health of the ocean, the well-being of the coastal people, and the overall sustainability of the planet. India's approach under Prime Minister Modi, as far as the biodiversity management is concerned, is quite congruent with the three globally accepted principles, namely A, conservation, B, sustainable usage, and C, equitable benefit sharing. And therefore, our national legislative framework, the Biodiversity Act of 2002, bears witness to these values. India is also determined to support all the endeavors of all the global organizations that work towards the shared objective of achieving a robust and an effective agreement on the protection and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction. Ladies and gentlemen, you would appreciate that it is desired to have a global agreement to ensure a protected as well as a resilient ocean. And India supports the early conclusion of the ongoing BBNJ negotiations and the entry into a force of a strong framework that addresses conservation, that addresses sustainable utilization, and that also addresses the equitable sharing of benefits arising from the use of the same. Apart from the major elements such as marine protected areas, marine genetic resources, and the equitable benefit sharing, capacity building, and the transfer of marine technology, as well as the environmental impact assessment, we also believe that the establishment of new institutions or the strengthening of the existing ones with a robust democratic way of functioning are far, far more important. India therefore takes notice of the high ambition coalition and urges the member nations to stay dedicated to the conservation and preservation of the oceans and its biodiversity, as well as to the supporting sustainable economic development as well as the well-being of the coastal people. India, may I say so, expresses its satisfaction with the present talks at the intergovernment level. Several rounds of the talks have already happened, have been ongoing since 2014, with the most recent ones having taken place in 2023 itself. And during these negotiations, the member states have worked to reach an agreement on a variety of issues, including the scope and governance of agreement, the conservation and management of marine genetic resource, the sharing of benefits from their use, and last but not least, the protection and preservation of marine ecosystems as well as the biodiversity. And may I also express over here that despite the significant progress on several major issues, negotiations are still ongoing and the consensus still not arrived at some important issues like, for example, funding, for example, intellectual property rights, for example, institutional mechanisms. And therefore, India looks forward to this last session, which we believe will result in a constructive ideas that will be a big step forward in addressing these challenges. We believe that the adoption of BBNJ agreement would signal the international community's strong commitment to the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction and would also provide a clear mandate for the implementation of the agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, wishing these negotiations all the success. Thank you once again and namaste.